This is the second episode we're doing with Helen O'Connor. And Helen, as in the first part, talks to us about nature. But in this aspect of it, she's talking about how nature helps with anxiety. We then go on to talk about swimming, cold swimming, which she does on a regular basis throughout the year. She shares with us why she does it, the benefit she gets out of it, and probably more importantly, is the practical aspects of how you do it safely and how you know when it's time to get out. We're back again, Helen.
Yes.
For part two of our conversation in nature.
Yes.
And we're going to share something a bit more of what it's like for different types of people who come along and experience nature. And I think you're going to talk about an experience you have around freezing cold.
Yes.
So, Helen, if I was the opposite of a depressive person and I'm full of anxiety,
yes,
for whatever reason, what does coming here do? How does that approach differ for somebody who's anxious?
I think what I find is that, and we can draw on some theory around kind of attention and stress. So nature works through, one, it helps our kind of attentional systems to restore, in that we're not bombarded with things that we need to be doing, with visual stressors, with noises that we might sense as potential threats.
Yeah.
So nature in itself is an environment where our senses feel soothed and relaxed, and that can help to reduce anxiety, in that we're not sensing and perceiving lots of threats around us. Obviously we have to be careful in case there are experiences people have had in nature. It also, in terms of stress, things like fractal patterns, so the repeating patterns we see in nature, the kind of what we call soft fascination, so the way that our eyes can glide through nature without being overwhelmed, the sense of awe that we get, all of these things the research has shown helps our nervous systems to move into a rest and digest state, where we can feel soothed and calm. So
just explain to me a little bit more fractal patterns. What's
so
that?
Fractal patterns are the repeating patterns. So when we see a kind of there's some spruce tips actually just kind of come out, and as they unfurl they have this spiral pattern that comes through. Now these sorts of patterns, because they are shapes and patterns that we have evolved to be around, again it's that this is where we've lived for something like 98% of our existence as humans. They are patterns that feel comfortable and safe for our nervous system, whereas in day-to-day life we are bombarded with different colours and shapes that maybe aren't natural to us as humans.
So you're saying even standing in that sort of natural, for want of a better way of expressing it, these patterns,
yes,
that we get soothed unconsciously.
Yes.
Whereas if I stand in the middle of London and I look at this brutalist concrete block, it's a totally different experience to your nervous system.
It is, and you know, people still might find that pleasing and soothing in a different way, but we know that the surroundings of nature and what we see can be, I suppose, are just our baseline, our normal, and maybe what we're experiencing in day-to-day life is too much. So we're coming back to a place where we can restore and move back to a baseline of sensory input.
Yeah. I think the last time we spoke, I'm trying to remember, we talked about that sitting space, and you had a special tree.
Yes.
And that kind of, thinking it in terms of anxiety,
Yes.
where if I were to find that for myself, my own special place
Yes.
within this environment, it brings my nervous system back down from the highs to the sort of rest and digest phase.
Yes, and I think one of the things, particularly with anxiety, is that non-judgmentalness of nature. So nature doesn't care what you look like, how much you are feeling.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah. It's a space where you can be you. So it already relieves a lot of the barriers maybe that we have to allowing ourselves to experience emotions or to connect with things, in that we have all these worries and we overthink, we have loops in our brains that we can get really stuck in, whereas nature provides a space where actually it's easier to move out of those loops and into our body, so we can move again from the mind and into the body.
So it starts to flow.
Yes.
Resonate this way instead of revolving around that way.
Exactly.
Which tends to go down
Yes.
the plug hole.
Yeah.
But I like that idea of, like you say, nature doesn't care.
No.
So if you in your space with your tree, you're thinking life is awful and you start to cry, that tree doesn't care.
No.
And so it gives you that security, that non-judgmental bit. Or if I'm really upset by my last attempt at passing my driving test for the 20th time, and I want to bang that tree,
Yes.
it's all right.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful, that in that sense of that holding space.
Yes. But I think until the only way we can feel held is through developing that relationship, so that it becomes more than just a tree.
Yeah.
But that we can see that actually something I use in the sessions is to notice that as we are breathing out, the tree is breathing that in, and as the tree breathes out, we are breathing in what it produces. That's that relationship that we have with what's around us.
Yeah.
And then we realize actually how connected we are and how much we need each other. That for me, that building of relationship is the kind of central point of practice, so that we then feel just as you would with a good friend that you've built a relationship. You think, no, I can go to them with my worries.
Yeah. I like that imagery of me breathing out and the tree taking in.
Yeah.
And that truly is relational.
Yes.
One with the other.
Yes.
In a very, very holistic, natural sort of way. The other sense in which the word that comes to my mind with things that are going around our heads is the rumination piece.
Yes.
Because everybody has worries. And to find a spot where it might be okay to worry, or it might not be okay, but it is okay to worry.
Yeah.
It's fine. And as we were talking earlier, these sense of the fractals around us in nature kind of put the brake on the worry piece. Is that how you experience it?
Yeah, and I think it might depend on the day, in that for me nature allows me to feel what I'm feeling, whilst also helping me to soothe, and I suppose through feeling as well, we're allowing our body to process our emotions, and so we will ride that wave, and it will soften, but it's allowing me this space, I suppose, to be in what I need to be in, and the tuning into your senses supports us to move away from the loops, the rumination, actually into the feeling of what's going on, because there are certain things you just can't think your way out of. We need to feel our way out of it.
That's really interesting. So here we are, okay, and I think I can manage to walk a little fairly well, and so can you. But there's somebody who's saying, well, you know what, I've got a gammy knee, I've got a gammy leg, I've got arthritis, so there's the physical limitations to my movement.
Yes.
How do you deal with this within the environment we're at?
I think that's really important actually, because often the people maybe most at need might have difficulties in accessing nature, and what the research is saying is that images of nature, looking out of windows, having plants around us, anything that we can do that connects us with nature, and then using the same skills we would if we were in the woods. So it's when I'm with this houseplant, what can I notice? Like what details, what textures, looking at the colours, noticing how it's growing. So all of these sorts of things you're noticing and taking in, maybe if it smells of something. And then again, it's then allowing ourselves to move into our body with it.
And I know that experience from being in friends' conservatories, where you can sit and just sort of almost like scan the horizon, or passively scan the horizon, the be bit rather than the do bit. And they for instance put bird feeders out and just watch, see who comes visiting.
And that's a really wonderful idea. That's bringing nature to you, isn't it? So developing that relationship with the birds. You might have a robin that visits every day. You might have notice, you might start then to think, oh, I don't know what that bird is, and you'll do a bit more reading, and then we're connecting ourselves more with what's around us, and we might see birds with certain characters. Again, it's realizing that there are so many beings around us, not just humans. And then we build that connection with them.
I want to segue into another practice of yours.
Yes.
So, just for anybody listening, we're in Nidderdale, okay, and you're in Summerbridge, and we've come up a hill. But if we, from your house, go down the hill, we hit a river. And I know we've talked before, and you said to me that river is a very special place for you. Because you go in it. So what's that about?
I'd say the river for me was the first kind of part of my recent journey in connecting with nature more deeply. Because it is an experience that fully, in all ways, brings you into your body. Because when you enter the water, the I suppose the cold aspect of it, you can't think about anything. You just move into your body and into that presence of that moment. So it's probably the most grounding experience that I have in my life, and it's again something I use. It's something I use to help me to remain grounded or calm, particularly if I'm feeling if there's things going on, as there always is in life.
So there's no room for what should I have for lunch.
No, that's it. And there's the beauty. I mean, I suppose it's just so out of the ordinary. You're in the middle of this river, and you kind of look up and down, and the awe element of it is just out there. And my first swim, there was an otter. I'd never seen an otter or really thought about otters, and it was the most magical kind of connective experience. You hear the kingfisher and see that shot of blue fly past you, so you feel completely immersed, both in the water but also in nature in a way that I find very hard to experience maybe in other settings.
So how long have you been doing this?
Only for about a couple of years now.
Okay.
So it's something I do all year round, but I suppose I gain different benefits from it at different parts of the year. In the winter, the cold aspect of it is something that is it's almost addictive in a way, because it's the buzz, the feeling you have afterwards. In the same way you might do other adrenaline sports, it's that same kind of buzz that you get, that glow for the rest of the day. But in the summer it's the kind of exploring of the river, so it's the swimming and the connection with friends as you talk and you swim along, for me is the kind of the special element there.
So you would either do this with your friends or on your own?
Yes, yeah, and again depends, as with anything in nature, there are times where you need to be on your own there, and that again is a completely different experience for me, more intimate.
Right. So in practical terms, just I was going to say walk me through, but swim me through your experience. You're at the river, you jump in.
No.
Or you don't jump in.
No, don't jump in.
That's a useful tip. Don't jump in.
Yes, yeah.
So what is that? How does that process look like?
So I think that for the swimming there is a big safety element in the way that there isn't with the forest bathing. So you can there's outdoor swim coaches that can guide you through that process, or people swim with people you know have a lot of experience, because the cold element of the water, there's things like cold water shock, which can be very dangerous, but if you do it safely, it's a wonderful experience. And for me, I go in slowly up to about my waist, and then I kind of acclimatise a little bit before slowly sinking down with my breath. So I focus then on the breath, which helps me to stay calm and to stay connected, rather than, oh, it's cold, and then moving into more of a panicked mode of breathing. So the breath is essential for that smooth kind of movement into the water.
So that focusing on the breath is a somatic piece, rather than the environmental bit. Which is really shocking. Yeah.
Especially in winter,
I wish you well on that.
Thank you.
But just on that acclimatizing piece, how long does that take you? Say you've gently eased your way into this water to waist height?
Yeah.
Is that like 30 seconds or a minute, or?
It can depend.
Right.
So in the winter I might spend a little bit, maybe up to a minute, just getting my body ready to go in, to breathe in. Whereas in the summer, when the water is warmer, because I swim through years, so my body is used to it, I can get in fairly quickly in the summer. But it's all about knowing your own body. So how quickly I get in can be very different to other people, and it depends on your body shape, all sorts of things that I think impact on your way of getting into the water.
Okay, that's really, thank you for that. If ever I get to that point.
I've not persuaded you then?
No, I'm still thinking about the cold shower bit, which I think might be I don't know if it's safer or not, but how does that cold showers, is that different?
For me it's very different, because I find cold showers far more harder to motivate myself to do than swimming in the river, because there's the experience around the river for me, the connection and relationship I have to the river and the beauty, whereas getting into a cold shower or even going from hot to cold, it's just not something that interests me, I suppose, in the same way. I don't feel as motivated to do it.
If we switch to the science bit of it now, in terms of the vagus response. So my understanding of that is that it's the immersion, the cold immersion piece that allows you to regulate the vagal response.
Yes.
So whether it's cold shower or it's cold rivers,
Yes.
That's the underlying piece.
That's it. Yeah. The benefit is there for the cold showers in the same way it would be in the river. It's, I think, probably a personal thing, the motivation to be consistent.
Yeah.
I find much easier to get into the river.
Okay.
But the benefit of cold water in whatever form is most definitely there, and again, I think the research on that is growing and growing.
And it's that vagal, that polyvagal theory approach of saying, right, well, if you can regulate your vagus, you can regulate how high you get or how low you go down.
Yes.
To the freeze point.
Yeah. There's more control.
There's more control
through
over
practice.
Yeah.
Through the movement of the states.
Yeah. Do you fully immerse your head?
I have done, but it's not a regular thing I do.
Okay.
It's that is a more intense experience, and again, I would do it in the summer.
Yeah.
But the winter for me would be too hard. But I know people who do in the winter, and again, it's that safety thing of what feels comfortable and right for you, and making sure that if you're going to immerse your head, that you've acclimatized to the water first, so you don't just dive in head first.
Okay.
Because that's where the cold water shock comes.
Yes. For you, if you were to immerse your head fully,
yes,
what does that feel like?
That for me is it's just a very intense experience. Almost the same. Any kind of putting the back of your neck into the water, I think, is the bit that really gets your vagal nerve. So then putting the whole head under, again, it's intense moving into the body, and yeah, it's a kind of an overwhelm of sensation, maybe, is how I experience it. But then when you come out, instead of just having the kind of the buzz in your body, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. It's getting closer to. I might dip in one day. Do you have any experience of people saying to you afterwards, I was suffering anxiety or feeling a little bit depressed, and after doing this for a period of time, the world seems a better place?
In terms of the forest bathing?
In terms of
the water?
The water.
So for the sessions I do where there are elements of water with other people, then I think it brings almost a different view of the world for people, the open water swimming, because it's so extreme in your body reaction. It can be firstly a very cathartic experience, that kind of releasing, I suppose metaphorically thinking of the river, the flow. It can be an experience where people feel like the stress of the week has just been washed down the river, because it really does feel like it just moves through your whole body. So that for me is probably one of the most common responses, is everything has been kind of washed away, and I feel renewed and alivened again. Yeah. It's a really good metaphor, that, because I guess every time you go in, you're carrying something new with you. Yeah. Whatever that is, whether it's, I guess, for you it might be the kids or something about work or whatever it is that's out there that you're carrying, and you take it to the river and it's washed away. Yeah. Do you see a difference when you're swimming with other people versus you go down there and you're totally by yourself? Yes. For me, when I swim with others, there is more of that piece of connection with others, it's a very social, that shared experience and bond of going through the immersion together. And often I have some of my kind of deepest conversations with friends in the river, because again, you feel held and free in that space. Whereas where I go with myself, it feels more of an intimate connection with the river itself.
Yep.
So I have a strong love for the Nidd now, and that for me is also very important in terms of the work that I do, is that we develop this love for what's around us so that we are inspired and motivated to care for the planet from an environmental perspective.
Yeah, yeah. And you say in the last couple of years with the pandemic sort of a situation,
Yes.
do you think it's helped with the stress piece for either yourself or other people who've shared that journey with you?
Most definitely. For me, I started swimming in lockdown.
Right.
Well, it was just after the first lockdown, and that period of that first lockdown was extremely intense, as it was for everybody. And my time going down to the river, it was exactly that. It was my time. Whereas I felt like I'd felt completely trapped, really, within lockdown. This was my space and my time for myself. And I think from speaking to people I've swam with, it was that similar experience of being able to do something for yourself that helped you to process what was going on.
Yeah, yeah. Lucy, Helen,
Yes.
it's been fantastic talking with you.
Thank you.
As we go, can you tell me, apart from what we've talked about with the forest and the river, where do you find reset?
Reset. So I think for me, the other place where I really reset myself is in the garden, and in terms of gardening. And it's my love for that is not just nature, it's the process of growing my own.
Yeah.
The sense of satisfaction, and I again move completely out of what's going on in the world and just into the flow of that kind of ecosystem, that the composting, the growing, the harvesting. It feels very satisfying for me. So yeah, I would say that's my happy place.
That's the other happy place.
Yeah, one of many.
Yeah. So it's been fantastic, and if anybody wants to see more of it, do like, do subscribe, do comment. If you want to make contact, do, because we're going to leave a link to where people can find you, Helen.
Yeah.
And it's been great. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you so much, Jonathan.